Welcome. Get your tails in here, Who Dat Nation. Here's why. The schedule's out. We got to talk about it. Your New Orleans Saints are confirmed to go 16-1 this season. The script is here. We got it all. The script's in. Foster Moreau, happy to have you. Welcome. We'll talk about that. New Orleans going to Super Bowl. Confirmed. No drama. Read the script myself. We're here. Holy Schnikes, Batman. We're going to talk about it. We are. We're going to get everybody in here first, though. Welcome in. Who dat to you? God bless you for being here. It's Thursday. Feels like it's Friday, but it's actually Thursday. Hope y'all enjoyed the film study yesterday. Did anybody, for those listening live, did y'all take a look at, did you take a peek, take a gander at the Isaiah Foski film study that we dropped yesterday? We'll also be doing a little bit of Foster Moreau. Yes, now that it's official, we will bust out the tape on Moreau and talk about how this can really affect the New Orleans Saints. Me and Nick Underhill were talking on Twitter about how this really does bring back the potential between Juwan Johnson and Foster Moreau. You know, assuming that Moreau can play week one. I mean, the prognosis obviously is great for him. You know, obviously, for those that don't remember, coming through, had the cancer diagnosis, going through his physical screening, but apparently things are going really well, and he's slated to play football this year, which is absolutely fantastic. So we got the film study on Foski. We've got to put one on Foster Moreau. We got to talk schedule release. We got a lot to do in tonight's episode, which is exciting, and I think that's a great thing to do. So let's get a shout out to those who are here live early on. Appreciate y'all. If you haven't already, join the Discord. Best way to get a hold of us if you want to get with us. Bim, good to see you as always, my friend. Jazzy Prince Hunter, been a while, been a minute, but glad that you're here. I'm actually rocking. Hunter's been with us for a long time. I'm rocking like the original Who Dat Confessional merch right now. It's pretty dope. Still Bill, Marie, Evan, AJ, TJ, one of our moderators. Good to see you. Appreciate you supporting the channel. Always helping out. Mr. Wright, Blade, Lawrence, Dillon, Terrell, CPO 504. Good to see you, man. It's been a while. King Arthur in the house. James Griffon. Welcome in, everybody, to our 659th episode of the Who Dat Confessional podcast. And yeah, let's stop with all the nonsense. Let's get into it. Mr. Hyde, who dat to you? Welcome in. First one we're going to hit is Foster Moreau signing with the squad. Now, we're going to take the pragmatic approach, and then we're going to take the amazing approach. The pragmatic approach is, look, there's a reason the Foster Moreau is available. There is a reason that besides just the fact that, you know, the Saints need a tight end, this is not a signing where you should go, holy crap, the Saints got a steal. Now, I'm not trying to, like, dog on Moreau and say that he's trash. But what I am telling you is that this is a 4-year veteran player, good player, has never eclipsed 500 yards receiving, has never eclipsed past 5 TDs in a season, does not make him bad, but Foster Moreau is not coming in to be the Jimmy Graham of 2011. However, that doesn't mean there's not extreme value here for Foster Moreau. Obviously, the connection, the built-in rapport with Derek Carr is going to be something that everybody talks about on this podcast and every other podcast for about 3 weeks. So get ready to hear the fact that Foster Moreau and Derek Carr have built-in chemistry. You ready for that? Like, just prepare yourself. It's going to happen, which is fine. That's whatever. It's a true statement. But beyond that, realistically, when you look at Foster Moreau, what are you getting? You're getting a guy who can line up in line. He is a prototypical size tight end. He's a guy that can actually come in, be a down blocker, come in on that split zone, and be the backside blocker on the pull. A lot of things that he can do well and contribute as an attacker on the seams. And what I'm excited about, pairing Foster Moreau, who is basically a Adam Trautman that works, as in we've actually seen Adam Trautman be a disappointment. Like Adam Trautman never panned out. Foster Moreau will and has, like he's got the tape to show that he's a player. At the same time, there's a reason that he's available after 4 years. So it's good to get him coming through. He's out of Jesuit, obviously out of New Orleans, hometown guy coming through. Love that. We had that similar last year with Jarvis Landry and Honey Badger. Now you got it with Foster Moreau. Realistically, though, what you hope to see him accomplish if he does play all 17 games for the New Orleans Saints, you're looking at 500-ish to 600 max yards receiving, probably around 5 TDs. but more importantly, what can he provide to this team in terms of opening up the playbook in a way that they have not had in recent years? And some of the examples of that is New Orleans has not been a team that's dominated with 12 personnel. And even though if you go look at statistically, you go look at Pro Football Focus, things like that, what they'll say is, hey, the Saints were in 12 personnel, like 25, 30% of their snaps, but it's a little misleading because you have Taysom Hill there. And 12 personnel, which is one running back, two tight ends, is a former staple that you saw all the time in the early Peyton / early Pete Carmichael era. And it kind of tapered out a bit. You lost Jimmy Graham, you lost Ben Watson, you ended up trying with Kobe Fleener. That didn't work out for various reasons. You were never able to recapture what you had at your peak, which was, Josh Hill playoff season, who was your backup, but still a very reliable blocker, very reliable inline guy who could also be a sneaky, Y-League type of tight end who catches, one or two targets a game and makes a big play that you don't expect. And what I see in Foster Moreau is a quality starting tight end to match up with Juwan Johnson to provide them a very good, stable 12 personnel set, which adds a lot potentially to this team in terms of what they can do attacking the field. It's not always just about adding Olave, who's a fantastic flanker. It's not just about, hey, can Michael Thomas come back and be a true split in for this team? Hey, who do they have playing the slot? Can Rashid Shaheed take that step to the next level? You also have to look inward and look at those seams. These big guys, 250, 260, that can attack routes upfield, but also dominate the middle of the field, taking on some of those linebackers and those short yardage situations, converting some of these passes that maybe New Orleans has struggled with in recent memory, and they have, and maybe even utilizing them in the red zone to capitalize and score more tutties. Because at the end of the game, what do you want? More points. Man, look at Rev just dropping truth bombs. You won't get any type of analysis to that level in any other podcast. Only Rev can tell you that you need points to win football games. So because of that, the Foster Moreau signing is exciting for me. If it was just Foster Moreau, if there's nothing else there, I wouldn't really be super excited. But because of how everything can come together, getting all the pieces in, love the addition of Williams, love Miller coming to the team, love what Olave can do in his second year, love what Shaheed could potentially grow into, excited to see if Thomas can be healthy, Juwan Johnson proving himself, what can he do? And I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys and gals that I think this team is stacked, which, by the way, Hunter, thank you for supporting the channel with the super chat. But what I am going to say is that I believe that this team has more depth and quality than they've had in a while. Now, I'm not going to say they're stacked. I'm not going to say they're studly because there's still question marks. I love Michael Thomas, but there's absolutely no way that you can, with a straight face and be truly pragmatic, say that Michael Thomas is going to dominate this year. You can say, hey, the potential for him to return and contribute is high. He looks healthy. We're really going to take a moment to see if that works out, and hopefully it does. If it doesn't, the good news is you literally just drafted a future replacement who could potentially take that spot in A.T. Perry, which again goes back to my argument. These are good moves. This is stuff you love to see a team doing. The stacked argument would come in for me when you get to a level of stardom, and you can argue Chris Olave is getting into that stardom level, but that's it. And I don't think the team is stacked, but I do think that they have quality depth. And I do think that these are multiple position groups that show the ability to attack with the offense and make things happen. And then it comes down to Pete Carmichael. Can he take advantage of this? And when you look at Pete Carmichael, have the problems with Pete Carmichael that you do. I'm not telling anybody to secretly fall in love with Pete Carmichael. But what can you do for a guy that if you don't believe in his play calling maybe as much as you would like to, or you don't believe that he has shown that next level ability, what do? You give him more talent. You give him more depth. You don't ask him to try to take a guy who is a nobody and turn him into a somebody. You give him players immediately up front and try to see success. You load him with talent. And I think that's something that you're seeing this team really do. And Foster Moreau is a great example of that. Now, all the football stuff aside real quick, I do want to say to Foster Moreau, I'm so happy for you as a person because, and I don't cuss on this channel very often, but for those little ears, cover them for a second. Fuck cancer. I think if everybody watching currently, all those who will listen to the podcast after the fact, everybody's been affected by cancer in one way or another. It's terrible. I hate that he's had to experience this. I'm so glad that he is not going to have life-changing in terms of missing football and uprooting his family. I'm so glad that the prognosis is one that is, as much positive as you can say for a cancer prognosis for Foster. So I'm very happy for him, and I'm glad that the physical found this early and that they can take care of it. I'm very happy for him. But yeah, that's really it. I want to make sure we don't forget the human side of that, because it's so important to remember that these individuals are human. They're not just football players. This isn't just Madden. This is real life. And I'm so happy for him giving that what could have been a devastating situation. So I hope that his mental health is doing just as well as his physical health is on the road to becoming. And we'll see if he ends up starting that first game. Now, just FYI, for those who are curious about the reports, it is possible that Foster Moreau is ready to go week 1. I think the correct course of action, and this seems to be what the Saints are planning to do, is to take it slow, see how it goes, let him go through everything he needs to go through this summer, and then just let things happen how they happen. And if he doesn't play to the second half, honestly don't care, because his health should come first and foremost. But it does look like the potential that he can be a contributor early on. And that's what you've got to like. And he provides a very well-rounded tight end. And I'm excited about that. But the main piece of Saints news I know a lot of people are going to want to talk about is the regular season schedule has been released. We're going to jump into that to a second. First, I want to grab some comments from the chat. We always love to grab comments from the chat. Tonight, I was thinking about opening up the phone lines, but just because we have so much to talk about, that would end up being a 2-hour episode. So we're going to do this first. Shout out to everybody who has jumped in. King R says, I looked at that film study you did on Foski. That false step looks like it could be an issue of habit with him. And it is an issue of habit. At the same time, I do want to be very clear that I'm not particularly worried about it, because one thing that I try to harp on, and I've been overusing that word lately, but one thing that I really try to, educate people and edify people when it comes to evaluating, and I'm not here to tell you that I'm the best scout in the world. I just trained to do it. So I've learned some things throughout training and doing it, and I love it. Unless you're talking about a guy coming into the draft who's like a top 10, top 15 pass rusher, like in terms of draft pick, almost everybody's going to have an issue. False stepping is one of the most common issues in college football. For anybody, you go to a high school football game, and I promise you're going to see a defensive end false stepping. And when I say it's okay, it's not to say that this isn't something you want to fix, just that this isn't a shock. A guy picked number 40 is going to have a couple of issues. But what you look for in traits-based analysis is not only we want to identify those things that we can improve on, but what is the ceiling, what is the potential for what he does really well? And if you watch that Foski film study, that Foski film study, I like to call him Foski because I like to be different and annoying. That's just kind of my brand. But when you watch that film study, you can definitely see the pop-off. But at the same time, I'll tell you where he struggles. And if you want to see the film that he struggles the most in, go watch the Ohio State game. That is probably his worst piece of tape. The left tackle Ohio State is a elite guy coming out of college, and Foski struggled. But at the same time, there's a lot of positive traits. You love the versatility. So I appreciate you watching. And if y'all haven't watched yet, encourage you to go check it out. We're doing film. I've done more film the past month than we have been doing, and I am trying to make sure we're doing that here on the channel because y'all enjoy it so much. And honestly, just keep it real with you because y'all been supporting this year. I mean, a lot of y'all have, bought the t-shirts, bought the merch, supported by donating, and it's all appreciated. So because of y'all, I'm definitely going to put out more content for you, and I really appreciate you. Let's jump into a couple more of these comments. Yeah, Buddy says, are we really banking on Thomas to do anything this season? Dude's trash. Now, I don't think that he's trash, but am I personally banking on him? No. I think that's kind of a point I was making earlier. It's more about depth and quality than it is banking. And last year, you did bank on Michael Thomas. You had nobody else who could be a good quality starting split in. You had Marquez Callaway, who's like this up-and-comer undrafted guy who maybe can contribute, but he's more of a slot guy who could slide out. A.T. Perry coming out of college is literally a split in who has to learn how to be a slot guy. Like he has to learn to slide into the inside like Colson did, like Thomas did. So you actually have a little bit better depth there if Thomas doesn't work out. And that's a good thing. Again, I want the success for Michael Thomas. I want him to see him reach the goals and return to form. I hate that the injury robbed him of what truly was prime years. And I think that our frustration with his lack of on-field production shouldn't, remove us from the memory of the truth, not even the memory, the truth that Michael Thomas, even if it was short-lived, was arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL. Now, I'm not trying to rest laurels on old accomplishments. That was 3 going on 4 years ago. But the point I'm making is there's still talent there, even if he comes back at 80, 90% of what he was. And if you have depth behind him, that's okay. I'm not expecting a 1,400-yard, 10 TD season for Michael Thomas. And I'll be real. I would actually be quite okay if Michael Thomas gets 750 to 800 yards, is healthy, gets, 6, 7 TDs, but more importantly than that, first downs. If he can get me 50 first downs as a wide receiver, I'm happy. Legitimately, 750 yards, 50 first downs, and 6 or 7 touchdowns. I know it's not all pro Michael Thomas, but I don't need all pro Michael Thomas. What I need is the team to be a good offensive unit. And guess what? If Michael Thomas can come back and be an all pro, amazing. But that's, I think, a realistic expectation. Realistic expectation is Michael Thomas coming off major injury. The man is now 30 years old. He's not going to be 1,700 yards, 10 TD, all-pro, arguably best player in the league, Michael Thomas. He was Offensive Player of the Year that year. So your hope is that he can simply be a very good contributor, and then you rely on the young buck to be the star in Chris Olave at that flanker position. And the better Michael Thomas does, the better it opens up Olave to really take the top off, to really shine. And then Olave could be doing things like shooting for 1,250 yards and 10 TDs. That's your hope. As much as I love all these players, like I love Chris Olave, I'm excited about it. This New Orleans Saints offense and any offense is best when they're balanced. And balance is Chris Olave not having 1,700 yards and everybody else sucking. Balance is Juwan Johnson. Remember, it's all relative to how many yards you produce as a team. And we're going to get to that schedule in a second, but I wanted to get some questions, so let me go on my little tangent. I promise we haven't forgot about the schedule. We will be discussing it here. But look last year. The New Orleans Saints, with a multitude of quarterbacks, threw for about 4,000 yards. Well, if you were to say, hey, we want one stud to get 1,700, that means you've only got 2,300 yards to then put into Moreau's hands, into Juwan Johnson's hands, into Michael Thomas's hands, Rashid Shaheed. And I mean, you start dividing this by 6 people, basically everybody's having a pedestrian year except Chris Olave. And I definitely want New Orleans to throw more than 4,000 yards, just using last year as an example. Realistically, we'd like them as a team to get close to that 5,000-yard mark. But the point being, the Saints offense will be at their best if everybody is contributing instead of having to rely on one guy to be a stud. And that was a problem with last year's passing attack. Landry, for multiple reasons, didn't end up working out. Thomas, because of injury again, didn't work out. Adam Trautman never became the guy. So you ended up relying and forcing, to an extent, a rookie flanker wide receiver to be the guy. And he got 1,000 yards, but you saw the struggle there. So if we can get everybody to contribute, that's where they're at their best. Get a couple more, and then we're going to jump in. Gerald says, Foster, get healthy. Football can wait. Get healthy and join the family. I love that mentality. Hope to see more of it. Hunter says, last report I saw said Foster Moreau will be available around mid-season. The earliest technically possible is about the beginning of the year. Do I see that being realistic? I'm not a medical doctor. I'm honestly not even going to try to guess up in that. But I will say, with what remember, he was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's a cancer in the lymph nodes. If they are able to treat this quickly and early, he could be back pretty damn fast. He's been cleared, expected to play this season, and it's only May. So, yeah, you could see mid-season. Depending on how things go, you could see beginning of the season. We'll wait and see. I'm not trying to rush him, just trying to give y'all the expectations, where to kind of build y'all's time frame. And y'all go from there. White Wolf, good to see you, man. Who dat to you? Love seeing some of our OGs coming on through. How do you break a habit like that? It seems to be deep-rooted. In terms of going back to the Foski question real quick, and then we're going to jump into the schedule. In terms of that, repetition. Honest to God, repetition is the best way to do it. And if you notice, I talked about in the film study, one thing that helps is coming from the three-point stance, and a lot of it's just training. And repetition training is going to be the way to alter that. And it's probably not something that happens in the summer. You don't see the, fall step just go away in the summer. But what I will say, Marcus Davenport had the same problem. Marcus Davenport also got better at no longer having that as a problem. So that takes time, but it certainly can happen. Let's jump into the schedule. And real quick, I'm going to give a shout out to NOLA football. For those that don't know, I've worked with Nick Underhill and supported Nick Underhill for a long time. Well, New Orleans Football dropped this dope graphic. For those who are watching the YouTube channel, y'all can see it. This has the full schedule released for the New Orleans Saints. Bye is week 11. Let's talk about it. Home games are in green. New Orleans is going to be opening up the 2023 season against the Tennessee Titans. Week 2, they will go Monday Night Football to the Carolina Panthers. Week 3, they've got the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay. This is in September, though, so in terms of dealing with the elements, hopefully that won't be a problem. September weather, obviously not as scary as, December weather. So, yeah, we're happier about that. Then the 4th week, you got October 1st and then October 8th. Though October 1st is a home game. That's also right near my birthday. If anybody would like to help support Rev, go to the game for his birthday. Donate links are in the description down below because I no longer have media passes because I'm no longer covering the team professionally, so I can't get in for free. So if y'all want to help with that, it's appreciated. Then we got week 5. We've got the New England Patriots in New England. For whatever reason, this is always one that New Orleans just struggles with. Hopefully that's not the case this year. Then you're coming back down south in week 6 to play the Houston Texans in Houston. So you got a couple road games, then home game on Thursday Night Football 4 days after playing the Texans. At least you've got a very short travel time. So the good news is you play Houston, you're right next to home, right? Like, I'm not trying to do like a lot of people do and claim Houston is like New Orleans West and stuff because Houston's a little wild and crazy, but it's literally not even a few hour drive. So that at least there's not a lot of travel time. It would be awful if you had like a Sunday game in Seattle and then a Thursday game in New Orleans. So at least you hopefully don't have that as much of an issue, but you get your short week there playing the Jacksonville Jaguars on Thursday Night Football. Then 10 days later, going to Indianapolis and playing the Colts. Coming back November 5th to play the Chicago Bears at home. Then next week, keeping it in the same division, you will go to Minnesota, which was a rivalry when Sean Payton was here. I don't know if we would call it that now, but another team that we've had some struggles with in recent memory, but a lot has changed. Then you've got that bye at week 11 before going on the road to play the Atlanta Falcons. Coming off of a bye to play Atlanta is beautiful to me. Like, that makes me very happy as a Saints fan. Look, y'all, I don't care what coach it is. New Orleans tends to do historically well when it comes to coming off a bye week. And you should. I am excited about that one. I want to come out of the bye week and absolutely smack. I mean, I always want to just destroy the Falcons, but you get what I'm saying. That's exciting. So after that, you've got 3 straight home games. The Detroit Lions, then the Carolina Panthers, then the New York Giants before 2 road games with the LA Rams on Thursday Night Football again. Yes, the New Orleans Saints have 2 Thursday Night Football games. I'm sorry. I hate it. You hate it. We hate it. But it is how it is. And this is actually the one that I dislike because the Houston one and then home for the Jaguars, I'm okay with. But at the end of the year, you've got the home game against New York, but then you got to go to LA and play the Rams. So you do lose some travel time there, and I don't like that one. Then you got the Bucs, and finally, Atlanta Falcons in the season. And those are your 17 games for the New Orleans Saints this year. There are your 17 games. Now, what we're going to allow chat to do is go ahead and throw your predictions down. Let's do this. Let's do the way too early. Should not be discussing this. You're an absolute idiot if you think this is accurate. Schedule predictions. Let's do it. Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen? I'm going to start. Week 1, home Tennessee Titans. W. Rav puts a W down. Oh, look, we got coming through already. White Wolf says 11-6. Hunter says 10-7. I'm going to start off with a W. I think Tennessee Titans at home opening the season. I think it's a win. I think Tennessee is a team on the decline from what they were a couple years ago. Now, Kitty Cats on Monday Night Football, the Andy Dalton revenge game. Andy Dalton revenge game. Whew, tough one, but I'm going to give it an L. I'll explain why later. Y'all deal with me. Y'all can get mad at me later. I'm going to give it an L. Moving to week 3, Green Bay. This is not the Aaron Rodgers Green Bay. This is the Jordan Love experiment. Finally, can Love make it happen? I'm going to say Love fails, and it ends in a dirty divorce. So week 3, New Orleans Saints are going to be victorious. Then you've got the completely rebuilding. We're very obviously tanking. We're not even hiding it. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield as your QB. I think that you win week 4 at home. You're going to go on the road to New England. I'm a little sketch on that one. I honestly don't know. Just for whatever reason, traveling to the East doesn't always work. I'm going to say it's an L. But I think that we're going to beat the Texans and take on the Jaguars. Jaguars are going to be one of the toughest games of the year. Just FYI, I think the Jags are going to be one of the toughest games of the year. I really, 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 really do. All right, Indianapolis is a team I'm unsure about. But actually right now, I'm going to give them an L for one reason and one reason alone. I don't know how they're going to handle quarterbacks of a certain ability. And I mean mobility. I'm giving us a win to the Jags only because I'm going to have us lose to Indianapolis. If you haven't noticed a trend, by the way, I'm believing in my heart and soul that New Orleans is going to start winning home games again because they've been a road team for so damn long. So if you haven't noticed, I've got New Orleans winning a lot of home games. Losing Indianapolis, I think they'll beat the Bears, but also believe they will lose to the Vikings. So up into the bye week, I currently have the Saints with 4 losses and 6 wins. Not amazing, but I think it's fair. Now, coming out into week 12 off the bye, I think that's a W. Detroit Lions, I love what they're doing, but I don't think they're ready. I think that's a W. Carolina, I think, is a W. And New York, I'm not 100% certain on. I'm really not, but I'm going to write it down as a W. I think that they come out of the bye and have a legitimate shot at a 4-game win streak. My big thing is they need to win at least 2 out of 4, preferably 3 out of 4 out of the bye. Now, after that, look, I know y'all say the Rams are going to suck this year, but I think the Rams are going to win. I think they're going to pull it off, and it's going to be really annoying. It will be, how the hell did that happen? I promise you, it's going to bug the hell out of all of you. It is. I'm sorry, it is. I think it's going to happen. It's going to bug that. Why did that happen? You're going to go, why the hell did we lose to the Rams? Thursday night football game, short week, tough game with the Giants. The Giants play a very physical style ball. I think the Giants are going to play them tough, and I think you're going to go on the road and then go lose to LA. So y'all can hate me all you want. I'm fine with it. Then you got Tampa Bay and the Falcons to wrap it up. Tampa is an interesting one. I'm curious, does this team get better at the end of the year with their young guys? How does the health look for both teams? Right now, we have got, 5 losses on the tally sheet so far with, 10 wins. I've got them at 10-5 right now. So I'm actually going to drop another L to Tampa and then a win to the Atlanta Falcons. So I have got the Saints based off the way too early. It's made. This doesn't matter. This is stupid. 11-6 prediction. And I think that that's fair based on their division, based on the strength of the NFC, based on the opponents that they're taking on, and with a lot of question marks. But I don't think 11-6 is wild. I think that there's a plus or minus here of 2 games either way. But I think winning 11 games is a completely fair, general guess that you would make in May. I don't think that there is a ton of difficulty on this schedule based on what we know now. Remember, though, what a team was last year does not determine who they are this year. Jacksonville's a great team last year, relatively speaking, playoff level team. We'll see what they are this year. I'm looking also at, when I'm looking at this, I'm also considering guys who maybe aren't great matchups. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, honestly, is not a great matchup for what New Orleans' defensive front seven has shown in recent years, but definitely not Anthony Richardson either. So I think that's part of it. Then you get to teams like Chicago, and there are a couple of games like Chicago where if you lose to Chicago, you go, what the hell are you doing? I think losing to many, though, is very realistic. They're still a good team. even if they aren't what they were years ago. So when I look at this, because of the weakness that we see in our division and the weakness that we see in the conference as a whole, winning 11 games as a healthy team should be realistic. Remember, last year, the New Orleans Saints were the 4th most injured team in all of football. And then the year before that, they literally set records for how injured they were. So if they can be healthy and take advantage of that late season bye, remember, week 11 bye, I actually have them coming out of the bye and winning 4 straight because I really think they can do that. I think they can go ATL, 3 straight home games, Lions, Panthers, New York. I think they can win those. I think they can win at least 3 of them. So that's what I see when I look at this team. There's a lot of questions here. Are the Saints going to be able to have the same level of secondary success they've had in the past? We'll see. Are they going to be able to rebuild that defensive line with young bucks, and can they get away with it early on? I think luckily for New Orleans, their first 4 games, gosh, I know this is going to bite me in the butt, so somebody go ahead and clip it, are almost a cakewalk when it comes to quarterback difficulty. So you have a month where you can allow your defensive line rookies and young guys to learn and catch up. You've got an entire month where the defensive line does not need to be dominant. They just need to be, please don't be awful. Tennessee is not cooking with Prime Brady. Carolina is either going to be starting Andy Dalton or a rookie. No offense to Andy Dalton, but he's a solid game manager at this point in his career. Jordan Love is an unproven guy that's been sitting behind A-Rod. Who knows what that's going to look like? And then, of course, you've got Tampa. And I think the best quarterback situation of all those is Jordan Love. And I'm not a super big Jordan Love guy. So luckily for the Saints, the way it lays out, they don't need their defensive line to really start getting great until mid-late season. So they've got an opportunity to work on their young guys and get them established and get them going. So I think that you're looking at a really good spot if you're New Orleans. That's why I look at this and say, yeah, I think 11-6 is a possibility. And I think winning the first 3 games, is very real. We'll see. But I think it's a very real possibility to win the first 3 of the 4. I think it's a very real possibility to have a 4-game winning streak at some point during this season. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. The key is health, and that was the key for the past 2 years. The New Orleans Saints, the past 2 seasons, will die on this hill. Almost everybody will agree with me because y'all are biased Saints fans. But talent-wise, this team was a 10-win team both of the past 2 years. Last year they won 7. Year before that they won 9. Both of those years they should have won 10+. Injuries took a major toll. And then last year I think coaching took a step backwards. Hopefully that takes a step forward this year. I think most people would agree with that. Talent-wise, this team was a 10+ win team. It didn't mean they executed that, but that's what they were talent-wise. If they can stay healthy, if they don't have the injury bug, things can be different. Now, also, something else I want to point out real quick. Have y'all noticed how many of these games are in a dome? Obviously, the New Orleans one, all the New Orleans ones are a dome. So go ahead and count 8 of those bad boys. But keep counting. You got Atlanta. You've got Minnie. You've got Houston. You got Indy. I think it's 11 of the New Orleans Saints games are indoor dome games, which is exactly what they play on and what they're good at and what their offense tends to have high speed excel at. Not guaranteeing that you win those football games, obviously, but it definitely plays to this team's strength and this team's familiarity. So looking at this schedule, a lot of it seems to indicate New Orleans is in a good spot. It can't guarantee it, though. At the end of the day, you got to win the football games. New Orleans could come out and lose the first 3 games. It should be real with y'all. It could happen. All right? Can we be honest with ourselves? We've watched the New Orleans Saints start off 0-2 when we swore up and down they'd win coming out. It's very possible because the Saints have not been playing good at home for about 3 years. Even when Sean Payton was here, they weren't playing well at home anymore. It's very possible you come out week 1 and lose to Tennessee. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't think it should happen. When I look at the Titans roster, again, when I'm looking at it in May, not looking at it in September or October. But when I look at the Titans roster, I go, well, who's going to hurt you? Who's going to hurt you? You know, I don't think that that's a scary team. I think there's some good players on that team, but I think that New Orleans talent to talent should be a better team. At the same time, New Orleans can lose, right? Like, this is a team, in terms of talking about Vrabel's team last year and everything, that was very close to being what New Orleans was. Middle of the road, underperforming, but still good talent. So it's possible that New Orleans loses their first game. I don't think it happens, but we should speak on it. We should speak on it. Mr. Don says, I saw a power ranking today with the Saints at 26, had Tampa at 21. I will say, though, I hate preseason power rankings when it comes to schedule, strength of schedule power rankings. And the reason being is, I can guarantee you, and I'm just being honest with you, history doesn't lie. There's at least 2 teams on this graphic that you say suck that are going to be good this year. All right? Just prepare for that. There are at least 2 teams. You can tell me in chat. I want to see chat guess who they are. There are at least 2 teams that you think suck on this chart that are going to be good. That is simply a mathematical fact that we have learned from 100 years of football. There's a reason that an average of 6 new teams make the playoffs every year. The best thing about the NFL is the parity. The NFL is not like the NBA, where it's the same team, Golden State Warriors, every single year. That's not how it is. And you did have the Patriots for a while where that was a thing, but that's not the case in football right now. Every year, new teams come up, good teams go down. So there's at least 2 on this chart that are going to be that way. My team, my number 1 that I think on this chart is going to be better than a lot of people are giving them credit for, is the Detroit Lions. Because I believe the Detroit Lions are building a very firm foundation. I don't think that the Lions are a Super Bowl caliber team, but I think the Lions are a team that can definitely beat a lot of teams in this league because they are working and building on really good fundamentals. Their draft strategies leave a lot to be desired, but I think the Lions have a great team that they're putting together with good talent and good fundamental football with good fundamental coaching. I don't think that Dan Campbell is a Super Bowl head coach, but I do think that this is a good team and can surprise some people. That's one of the teams that I look at going, hey, I think the Saints can win this, but at the same time, if you sleep on them, they're going to sleep you. Bim says Derek Carr about to have a career year if Carmichael lets him cook. Well, we got to hope. We got to hope that the man makes good gumbo. We got to hope. The head coach reminds me of Haslett, not great, but gritty. You know, I know that wasn't like an insult because Haslett, honestly, I know he gets a bad rep because New Orleans sucked for a long time, but Haslett was a good coach. You know, obviously he couldn't control the whole Katrina thing. There was a lot of stuff happening in the front office that was a little, there were some locker room situations that he could have been better at controlling for sure. I want to get into all that, but he was a good coach, but he wasn't great, to your point. And that's kind of how Dan Campbell is. Dan Campbell is a good coach, part of the Sean Payton coaching tree. By the way, good coach, winning coach, won 9 games last year. Good team. In fact, his offense was, I think, a top 5 offense last year. Defense still underperforming, very much like a New Orleans team that he used to coach for, but that's a good coach with a good team and a lot of talent. Still, I don't understand their draft practices. That's so confusing. I'm sorry, y'all. Their draft's confusing, and I realize they've made some alterations, but you went and got Gibbs and Campbell in the first round, both of them, after you had just signed 2 players to be the starters of that position in free agency. I mean, get who's the best on your board. But, man, they were excited as hell to get Gibbs. Like, I've never seen a draft room so excited to draft somebody who nobody else was going to draft at pick 12. But maybe they were. I could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe they just knew. They had heard that somebody was going to take him. I mean, Alabama running backs have had success, so who knows? Who knows? But anyway, point I'm making is there's at least a couple of picks, a couple of teams here that you're going to look at, say they suck, and they're going to win. They're going to be good anyway. So they wanted him bad because he was a big reach. That's such a subjective argument. I want to get in here to start trashing the Lions, but I will say that I think that every running back taken in the first round is a reach. I think every tight end taken in the first round is a reach. There's just multiple positions that do not perform well in their first year, and there are multiple positions that do not have longevity for multiple reasons. They're A couple positions I just would not take in the first round. That's a personal preference thing. Doesn't make me right. Doesn't make anybody else wrong. That's just Rev wouldn't do it. And I wouldn't take a running back in the first round. I wouldn't take a tight end in the first round. When everybody was sitting watching the Saints, they were like, oh, man, they should get Michael Myers. I know it's not his name, but I'm still going to say it anyway. I was like, no, they shouldn't. Please don't. Don't do it. Leave it alone. And then it was even funnier when they traded Adam Trautman. I don't feel like it's a position you invest first round capital in, but there are obviously teams who disagree. And you can be part of analytics nerd football draft Twitter, or you can be part of a front office who disagrees. And guess who disagreed? The Lions. Because not only did they take Gibbs and Campbell, both guys I thought were probably not top 15 worthy. Then they went and took Sam Laporta at like pick 34. So more power to them. Happy for them. Brian Branch ended up going to him. Like athletic scores wise, and I'm not saying this matters because it doesn't matter overall. Each team has their own tools, and this does not say everything about everything. But both the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions RAS scores were not super impressive as a class. Not super impressive class. Mark says, Carmichael put orange juice in his crawfish boil. All right, Mark, look. I'm not here to judge on people, but legitimate question. I haven't heard orange juice, but I have heard and seen orange peels. Have you ever tried it? I'm just saying. If we're just talking about a citrus acidity, it really isn't that mind-blowing. Like, I'm just saying, the way that you said it sounds like a little bit of a diss. And I'm just saying, from the culinary thought process, it makes a little bit of sense. Now, the priest said they've seen Sunny D. I've never actually seen legitimate orange juice because usually legitimate orange juice isn't legitimate orange juice. But I have seen orange rinds and orange peels put in, and I've seen a lot of that. Like you just peel you some oranges and throw them in with your broil. I got no problem with that. I mean, people will put lemons in. Lemon is just another type of citrus fruit. Why would you get so upset about an orange peel? I don't understand why people. I'll tell you what it is. First of all, this is called a rabbit trail. This is called Rev has ADD, ADHD, subtraction, multiplication, and division. But it's also, we all get as a culture so tied up in, well, this is how my mama or my grandmama or my grandpappy, or whoever cooked it, and the way we do it is right. Not necessarily. I mean, you can be right, but that doesn't mean you're the only right. And I'm just saying, if you put potatoes and lemons in your broil, then what the hell's wrong with some orange? Try it out. And tell you what, Mark, if you don't like it, that's cool. That's cool. If you tried it and you're like, bro, this is terrible, I respect it. I respect it. But it can't be worse than our man, Drew Brees, who will always be a saint and will always be welcome at every part in New Orleans. My man, Drew Brees, taking beans out of a can, cooking them on a skillet, heating up some rice and putting a single bay leaf on it, and that's that man's red beans and rice. Now that's offensive. Now that we can all get behind. All of that we can get behind. Our brand new running back, Jamal Williams, putting barbecue sauce on his crawfish. Again, I understand the logic, but I'm hurt. I'm hurt when I see it. Here's why I'm hurt. Because I've been taught that's not acceptable. But at the same time, I can't sit here and tell you I've never had barbecue shrimp. And ain't that much of a difference between shrimp and crawfish in terms of like what they are. They're bottom feeder crustaceans. I mean, we're not talking about them being like wide swathing differences in families. Like this, we're not comparing turkeys and pork here. So I can't sit here and judge too much because I've definitely had some barbecue shrimp. So would I make crawfish and then dip it in barbecue sauce? No, because I've been taught butter my whole life. The only thing you need is proper seasoning in the cooking and butter, and that's it. But that's just what I was taught. Would you put barbecue sauce on lobster tail? First of all, lobster tail is the most overrated thing in the damn world, all right? Lobster tail is just a big crawfish for like 20 times the price. Okay? Okay? Lobster tail, most overrated thing. Y'all taking girls out on date buying lobster tail that cost that restaurant about 30 cents to get, you paying $30 for it. You getting scammed, fam. Stop it. It ain't even that good. Like, the reason you believe lobster is good is because they told you it was good. Did you know that lobster used to be prison food? Like, they used to just catch that stuff and give it to, like, the poor people in prisons because it was just so plentiful, and it was just like this cheap, nasty, like nobody cared about it. It's a bottom feeder. But now, because of like surf and turf and all these restaurants, we're taught that lobster is this gourmet meal. No, it ain't. Bruh, it's just a big old crawfish. Big old crawfish. And actually, crawfish got a hell of a lot more flavor. Like, really, lobster bland. Like, I'm not saying that I've had Gordon Ramsay or like Bobby Flay come make me lobster, but lobster pretty damn bland. I'm just being real. Like, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's bland. It's just whatever. Like, I'm not going to go pay $30 for a lobster. I'm not going to go pick it out of a tank. Give me shrimp. Give me crawfish. I'd much rather have that than lobster. And cheaper too. Cheaper too. Platypus says, yes, everyone stop buying lobster, so it'll be cheaper for me. And look, Platypus, if you enjoy your lobster, you enjoy that lobster, sir. And just what? I'm going to let Jamal Williams enjoy his barbecue sauce on his crawfish. I'm just going to ask him to not squirt any on my plate. That's all I'm going to say. White Wolf says barbecue shrimp is garlic, paprika, and other spices infused. There's no barbecue sauce on it. No, White Wolf. I've literally had barbecue shrimp as in like a barbecue shrimp po' boy, like barbecue sauce on it. I've had that. Okay? Y'all can judge me. That's fine. I'm okay with it. Some people like only the God can judge me. No, you can judge me. Judge away. Judge my ass. I'm fine with it. But it was good. I ate it. Maybe I'm just fat. I ate it. What about way too early predictions for best offensive and defensive players? Best offensive player, Chris Olave. Best defensive player, Pete Warner. Felt good to say that with my chest. It's way too early. I can say anything in May. Nobody cares. It's May. Who comes up and brings up May takes? Ain't nobody in the Who Dat Confessional chat recording what I say on May 11 so they can shit talk me in November. Oh, but Rev, you said. Nobody care what anybody said in May. It's May. Bruh, we don't even have rookie mini camps. It's May. I'll say whatever I want. You know who's going to be the defensive standout of the year? Smoke Monday. Smoke Monday is going to have 11 interceptions. You can't tell me I'm wrong because it's May. Smoke Monday, 11 interceptions. Timekeeper says, think again, bucko. Bet. Farm-raised pigeon is viewed as top poultry in the culinary world. Ugh. Y'all can eat whatever you want. I don't care. I'll honestly try anything once. I'll try anything once. So, I'm just saying, White Wolf, like, sincerely, it's May 11th, right? Like, here's the wild thing, because we all do this. So this is not me taking a shot at anybody in the chat, but all of us think about players linearly. That's not even in a linear. All right, I can't do words. I'm apparently having a stroke on my podcast. In a linear way. What I mean by that is we only look at players as like these ascending talents. We don't think about context. Like, well, maybe player is depressed and gains 30 pounds. We saw that happen last year. Definitely affects their on-field play. Some players lose a finger. Some players would rather play Madden than play football. You know, we always just look at players and see them as ascending players. But the truth is there's ebb and flows. There's descending. There are players who are better for 2 months and then suck for 4. You know, so you don't really know right now. Like, it's all educated guessing. You know, Demario Davis has been an all-pro for like 4 straight years. Second team / first team. Demario Davis could fall off a cliff this year. Now, there's nothing that indicates that will happen, but you know what we know? For a fact, it's going to happen. I'm not saying it happens this year, but Demario Davis is 34 years old. Yo, 34 in football years? That's like old Yeller. Like, take that man out. Take that man out to pasture right now. Get the gun, son. I'm sorry. You got to put him down. I'm obviously speaking metaphorically, allegorically, similarly. Please, nobody's try to get me reported to YouTube. So at some point, that's going to happen. right? And there's always going to be that guy that steps up. And then there's going to be that guy that you expect a lot from that takes a step back. So that's why it's so important to see mini camps and to see training camp and to see these guys and how do they start looking when they get an opportunity to start showing football again? Are they healthy? Have they kept up with their workouts? What all are they doing? Are they a better team? Is Juwan Johnson going to keep ascending? Like, Juwan Johnson has been the tight end we've wanted a tight end to be. He's come out of nowhere. He's gotten better. And all of that, like, as much as I love Juwan, he still isn't like top 10 tight end in the NFL. Now, he did have a ton of touchdowns, but he still has only had 500 receiving yards. Last year was his best year ever, and he's obviously ascending. But at 26 years old, he had 500 yards and 7 TDs. Nothing to get mad about as a tight end. But in that projection, will he become a 1,000-yard tight end? Or will he become a 750-yard tight end? Realistically, you think he's 750 yards and 7 TDs again. But who knows? He could go ball out. We'll see. Or the worst thing could happen, and Juwan Johnson takes a step back. We have to wait and see. So, can't believe we got 2 Thursday night football games. Thank God I got Prime on Twitch. Oof, gosh, I hate Thursday night football. I really wish they'd take it away. You'll take that production from Johnson? Oh, me too. I'm just trying to make a point that, you know, the whole prediction idea, and I said this when we were going over the schedule, it's silly, right? It's silly, but it's fun. It's fun. It's actually really fun to think of Smoke Monday making an impact this year. Like, realistically, if you want to talk about what could Smoke Monday be, Smoke Monday could be the next PJ Williams. And that honestly is exciting to me. That really is. I would be over the moon if Smoke Monday became a PJ Williams, JT Gray, Justin Hardy type of a guy. I'd be over the moon. Clark says, I'm glad we play the Titans first. We'll see if the D-line upgrades are good right away. Actually, playing the Titans is one of the things I'm excited about because I don't think we'll have to worry about that as much. I think, obviously, you want them to be good as quickly as possible. But, yeah, I think that they're in a good position. So, I'm excited to see that first game of the season. Obviously. Can't wait. Can't wait. Super stoked. No step backs, please. Lord motion, no step backs. So that's the thing, NTR. Like, and I don't say this, I'm not trying to be, because there's always that guy for any team, whatever team you follow. There's always that guy coming out that say, no, this team's actually a lot worse. Everybody's overhyping them. This guy's trash. But truthfully, somebody's going to get worse this year. Could be Ron Ramczyk. Could be Honey Badger. Could be Demario Davis. Could be Cameron Jordan. Somebody's going to get worse this year. Like, I love Cam. Both him and Demario Davis are a ticking clock. Cam turns 34 in like a month. DD already is 34. Does Cameron Jordan ever have a 10-sack season again? You know, you can really count almost on 2 hands the amount of guys at 34 years old who've gotten 10 sacks. It just doesn't really happen anymore. It's tough. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. I hope that he continues to have success. But the sad truth of it is, somebody's going to take a step back. Last year, Mark Ingram took a step back. Like, I love Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram is arguably the best running back in New Orleans history. I wouldn't put him as number 1, but other people would. For example, Cameron Jordan has Mark Ingram as the number 1 running back in Saints history. I don't care where y'all put him, but he's up there. But Mark Ingram was not the Mark Ingram that I just adored from like 2014 to 2018. There was like a 4 or 5 year span where Mark Ingram was just like, this is one of the best, most underrated running backs in the league. He definitely wasn't that. I mean, and he was 33 years old. So, yeah. AJ says number 2. That's completely, y'all put him wherever you want. But I'm just speaking that it does happen. And hopefully it doesn't happen to Davis or Jordan, because I don't believe that there are guys yet that we trust enough to take over their mantles. But I'm curious. In fact, I'll actually give y'all some homework because we're getting close to the end of our show tonight. If y'all haven't already, join the Discord where we do a lot of our talking. Join the Discord. But how many, y'all go look it up, how many 34 or older defensive ends or any defensive lineman have gotten 10 sacks? I feel pretty strongly it's going to be less than 20. I could be wrong. I don't have the number in front of me, but I know it's not a lot. How many have gotten 10 sacks? And honestly, let's take it a step further because Cameron Jordan currently has a streak, one of the longest streaks in NFL history. Cameron Jordan has got like a 10-year streak with at least 7.5 sacks. I'm pretty sure it's close to an NFL record, if not an NFL record. I have to go back and look it up. Will he get at least 7.5? And how many guys have done that at 34? So we'll see. I hope that Cameron Jordan has at least 2 great years left. Like, I'd love both of them to make it to 35 before it really starts to taper off. I really would. But we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. Another guy who fell off last year. And honestly, he was falling off before this, but we wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt because he was from here. Jarvis Landry. Truthfully, Jarvis Landry wasn't Jarvis Landry in 2021 with Cleveland either. If y'all remember, in 2021, Jarvis Landry he caught less than 60% of his passes. You know, Jarvis Landry hadn't been a 1,000-yard receiver since 2019, but we all bought in, myself included, like, damn it. Like, I didn't believe he was going to be a 1,000-yard guy, but like, yes, we got the slot guy. Nailed it. Nope. Didn't nail nothing. Didn't nail nothing. And it just happens every year. Happens every year. If he gets at least 8, I will take it as long as Turner and Foski show up and do the same. I really want to see what Peyton Turner can do because Peyton Turner obviously has not lived up to his first-round billing at all. And Carl Granderson is another one to pay attention to. I think Granderson is mostly always going to be a rotational guy, but Granderson has certainly earned more snaps. You know, Granderson's earned more snaps, and coming off a career high in sacks last year at 5.5. I mean, he's a solid rotational piece. Does he get more snaps? He's not a guy that I would trust to be a full-time starter, but still would love to see him get more pass rush opportunities. And you just got to find places for these guys to come in and play. You got to find places for them to come in and play. And let's wait and see. And I'm just looking at Twitter real quick. One of my friends, Brad, he's very, very talented. He works at PFF. And believe it or not, Rev has friends at PFF. But the dude loves and knows salary cap. But he says the Lions are going 10-7. And I'm not going to argue him in May. Because I just said that the Saints are going 11-6. And I said that we were going to be beating the Chicago Bears. So he's got, did I say the Lions? He's got the Bears going 10-7. You know, we'll just wait and see what happens. It's May, though. Everything looks good right now. Everything's laying yet. And I hope y'all are having a great time. Now, I will be getting some more film studies out for y'all. So pay attention to that. Foster Moreau is probably going to be next. I do still have to do the rest of the draft, guys. I will be honest with y'all. It's tough doing the draft because I can't put all 22 out on YouTube. Like, it will get demonetized. I will get in trouble, and we don't want the YouTube channel shutting down. If you want to support the channel, though, we have a couple ways you can do that. Let me shout these things out real quick. If you have enjoyed today and you've had a good time, please check out a couple things like our merch store. It's revdeuce.com. We got 2 t-shirts you can get to support the channel, as well as a mug for your desk at the office. Talk ball and look like you know what you're talking about, too, with our Pull the Trigger t-shirt, Yankee concept. A new shirt's coming out this year, by the way. 12 personnel, 4 verts. I'm making that shirt. If y'all want a 4 vert shirt, it's going to be on here. We got the Who Dat Confessional. I'm actually wearing the Who Dat Confessional t-shirt right now in the sandy color. It's like an old Saints gold. Look, if you want to support the channel, check it out. I can only make content when y'all help out with the content, but I will get all those film studies out, and we're going to keep having the podcast every Tuesdays and Thursday. I appreciate every single one of y'all. Y'all are amazing. You're wonderful. Best fandom of any team in the world. And I hope y'all know that. Join the Discord if you have not already. That's all I got. We're going to wrap up. We'll be back Tuesday, and I'm going to try to have the film study for Foster Moreau out tomorrow, but we will see. Who dat? God bless. Catch you all on the next one. I'm outie.